Thank you very much for joining me today. If you are here live, thank you very much. And if you are here in a video or virtual world, hello also, and thank you for being here. So we're going to start off at the beginning of each of these Mondays with Morry, because I have been speaking to some people who are telling me, and I know it's none of you, but this will be for the people who pick this up on a recording, of course, who don't actually read the instructions. Can you believe that? Well, there you go. Steve, I'm glad you were sitting down because that look of surprise on your face, you would have fallen over. So I'm going to go over some very quick listening instructions to help us, for those of us who aren't going to read, who just want to get down to brass tacks. Pardon me. So the best way to listen to these recordings is either laying down or sitting with head support. The reason for that is that when we're laying down or sitting with head support, we're not really using any muscle groups. We're relaxed. We're not stimulating ourselves in any way, shape, or form. Believe it or not, me sitting up, holding my head up, or more or less holding my head up, is actually involving brainwave activity. I'm sending neural signals to muscles and nerve endings in my neck from my brain saying, hey, provide tension to support the head. That, believe it or not, can adversely affect an entrainment session. Now, when I say adversely affect, I don't mean it's going to actually hurt you or anything, but it will kind of act like competition to the entrainment. So every little bit that you can get rid of this competition, the better you're likely to have an effect from the recordings. The other thing is, and for the same reason, we want to have our eyes closed. So that's one of the reasons why we do not want to use this while we're driving or doing anything potentially dangerous, because probably not a good idea to drive with your eyes closed. Although I'm sure you'd see some people on YouTube doing it all the time. That's not something we should be doing. We use brainwave entrainment. We're much smarter than that. The other thing is you want to listen at a comfortable, what I like to say, conversational volume. So whatever you have the volume at on your computer and whatever volume you're hearing my voice at, I'm assuming you've set to make it comfortable for yourself. That's approximately the maximum volume that you should be listening to any of these recordings at as well. It is true that the louder the recording, the stronger the effect, but that has to be taken in line with comfort levels. We don't want to damage your hearing. We don't want to give you a headache or an earache. Everything is supposed to be very, very comfortable and cozy. So that's very important. And lastly, I want to mention that we should be using over-the-ear stereo headphones without using noise canceling. If it's noise canceling because it's foam headphones and it blocks noise that way, that's fine. But if it's electronic noise canceling, you should turn that off. It's either those kinds of headphones or these kind, which are the bone conduction variety. Now, one thing about the bone conduction is, for whatever reason, they make them with this band that always goes into the back of the head. And when you lie down, it pushes up against it and often displaces the actual speaker, the vibratory speaker end. If that happens for you, I suggest you get the volume right and then you flip it around like this. So even though this looks really stupid, it's actually the best way to listen with bone conduction headphones. So you just flip it around, let it balance either on the ridge of your eyebrow or on your nose, and have the experience. Now, you can use these recordings. I wouldn't suggest using the triliminal recordings this way, but the brainwave entrainment only recordings. So those are the recordings where you hear shh, ba 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 ba, and nothing else. Those recordings you can use while you're studying, while you're reading, while you're cooking. Again, as long as you're not doing anything potentially dangerous, I wouldn't be listening if you're around a hot stove or if you're cutting things. But in general, you can listen while you're reading, studying, doing things like that. As a matter of fact, many people find that it helps them to focus and be that much more into what they're doing. So let me see, have I missed anything? Oh, yeah. I get a question all the time about people listening, say halfway through, and then they get interrupted by their child or their cat or their dog, or occasionally their goldfish, imposes their will upon the owner as well. So in a case like that, if you get interrupted, as long as you still feel like you're in the zone, you can just continue. Just hit pause and deal with what you have to deal with and then hit continue. If you feel like you've been drawn out of your state, it's a better idea to start over. One last thing that is related to this, people ask, what if I don't have half an hour, but I still want to listen? You can listen, but these recordings are the length they are for a reason. So it could be a little jarring if you stop recording in the middle. If you want to really do that and you only want to listen to half a recording because that's all the time you have, then I suggest you start at around the middle of the recording. That way, when it ends softly and properly and is less likely to be jarring. So I hope that helps. And I hope that is helpful for people. And every time we do a Mondays with Morry, I'm going to kind of go through this. I'll be saying it differently each time because I'm not using a script. But I think it's a really good idea to help you all out, especially those of you like Steve who don't read instructions. So there you go. He doesn't read instructions, but he does listen. I noticed that. So that's very good. Okay, so let's get into some of the benefits of these recordings. So for that, we're going to move in to speaking more about MindTrainer Pro self-mastery. And we're going to be going through over the span of 2 or 3 weeks on each product and then rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So before I go into some of the benefits, I'm wondering if there's any questions, comments, and particularly if anybody here has any testimonials that they might like to share. Feel free to put up your electronic hand or chirp, unmute yourself and let me know, because looking at the video this way, I don't actually see everybody. So it looks like Jason has his electronic hand up. Please feel free to unmute yourself, Jason, and ask away or share.
Well, my experience with MindTrainer Pro since its conception has been amazing, right? I've been using your brain entrainment technology. I'd already retired from the sales career and won awards in many various fields from the military to civilian life. And, when I was able to tap into these frequencies, I was doing it while I was on walks. I was doing it while laid up on the couch with the kids running around cooking dinner because we taught them how to cook, right? That's why they're homeschooled, all the way to, sitting out right by my pond. And the ability to think quickly, the ability to know the answer, the ability just to, I already had a certain amount of confidence, which maybe I didn't need more, but it's made me more confident. I'm really clear in my ability to think, to move, but if I want to lose weight, I know I can shift over to that system. There's such an abundance of technology here that you can't get bored, right? Who here has went to a gym membership and, day after day, you're on that same elliptical, right? Or you're like, this is my treadmill. It gets a little old after a while. I prefer a walk in the park or a walk in a different park and then a walk in a different park. I like a little scenery. So the ability to navigate between different systems, depending on my goals, my short-term goals at the time. And luckily I haven't gained a bunch of weight or, came through menopause or anything like that recently. So I'm all set in certain areas, but I can switch between business, sales, self-mastery, public speaking, confidence. So just the sheer vastness, the amount of solutions that you provide here is a true testament to your work, right? Because this is not just one little simple solution. This is the complexities of decades of research and how your brain actually creates chemistry and thought processes. So that's a little bit of a testimonial. Shout out to you, Morry. Good job.
Thank you very much, Jason. And you made a very good point about the elliptical example. So the thing with the machine is you do it over and over and over again. It's kind of like replaying the same song in your head over and over again. Eventually it gets old and it gets dry. I used to love the Friends theme song. Absolutely love the Friends theme song. I played it so much I haven't heard it in like 15 years. I can't stand it anymore. Now, the interesting thing is properly engineered brainwave entrainment, which is a very large part, of course, in the MindTrainer Pro series, is that you don't get used to these recordings because they work on natural processes in the human brain. So I actually use recordings still today that I designed decades ago, and they still work just as well as they did before. It's like brushing your teeth or eating or having a shower. You don't stop having a shower every month, whether you need it or not, but you don't stop having a shower regularly because, hey, I've been showering for 50 years, so how much good is it going to do me anymore? Well, it keeps doing you the same good, just like eating does, just like breathing does. Brainwave entrainment, because it uses and takes advantage of natural processes in the brain, you don't get used to it. All the benefits come automatically and literally forever. It doesn't change. You're not going to get used to it. So thank you for sharing that little bit about the elliptical, because that brought it back to my mind. So are there any other questions or comments before we proceed? Okay, I don't hear anybody. I don't see anybody. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
Question for you. Is everyone already using MindTrainer Pro, or is there anybody possibly that's new to MindTrainer Pro that hasn't tried? I'm curious.
Oh, okay, that's a good question. So if there's anybody here who hasn't tried MindTrainer Pro, can you please put a 1 in the chat? And if there's people here who have been using it for months, please put a 2 in the chat. And if your name is Morry Zelcovitch, put a 3 in the chat. I just want to see how many people put my name in the chat. So let's see, we have some people putting in. Okay, so I would like to, before I get into the next stage here, I'd actually like to ask the people who wrote 2s, and if it's okay with you, I'll go through you one at a time. I'll just ask you, are you regular users? And what are you noticing? Just something nice and quick. So let's go with Lynn first. Lynn, can you unmute yourself and just let us know if you're a regular user and why you're a regular user?
I'm a semi-regular user. I was just on vacation for a week and probably hit 4 out of the 9 days that we were gone. And I'm a regular user because I understand what you just explained, that the benefits continue to grow, that you don't get used to it, that every time I do it, I feel differently but better. So it's, it's almost addicting.
Well, it's a good addiction. It's not
a good addiction.
It helps you to be happier and more content, rather.
Definitely. And I always notice after a session, almost any session, doesn't matter if it's in self-mastery or confidence or calm and clarity, that I am energized and want to accomplish things. So I use it as a good boost to start the day.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I think that's a pretty common effect. It's surprising to me when newer people who are unfamiliar with brainwave entrainment start using it and they start getting these kinds of effects, and it's almost scary. Because last time I felt like this, I was studying for an exam and I had 10 cups of coffee. So nothing scary here, folks, though. Nothing scary at all. Well, thank you very much, Lynn. I appreciate your sharing. Steve, unmute yourself, please, and let us know your usage and why. Please and thank you.
I'm a mostly regular user. I tend to miss the weekends because I play. But what I find is that things seem more open. My joy in life is figuring things out. I usually have 3 to 4 projects going at the same time, sometimes totally unrelated, and move from one to the other and have to change gears fairly regularly. But as soon as I started using the recordings, it seemed like everything opened up. Literally, I saw things better. Things just made more sense. And I think that solutions I might not have thought of previously or not so quickly just happen quicker. So it makes life more enjoyable and I get a lot more done.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that. I appreciate you. Jason, you already answered the question when you were talking before, so you're very efficient. Tracy, you'll be the last one before we move on to the next segment. Thank you.
I'm a regular user. I try to do it every day and sometimes twice a day. I've noticed a lot more clarity. I'm able to stay on task better. I also noticed that if I skip a day, I really miss it. I noticed that, oh, something's not right today. Oh, I haven't listened to my MindTrainer. So I notice it more when I forget to use it than when I do. But I have a cold right now, and Heidi reminded me about the
Wellness.
Yeah, the wellness. And so I've listened to that one a few times. The what's it called? I had it up here. Hang on.
Sure. We do have a lot of recordings.
Immune system one I've been listening to, and I noticed that my cold is getting better faster than before I started it. So yeah, I love it all.
Wonderful.
And I mostly listen to self-mastery. That's my favorite one, I think. But yeah, they all are good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So I appreciate everybody for sharing. That's just wonderful. As promised, we will now move over into Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, comments, or if they want to share other things, feel free. If you have stories from people that you've introduced MindTrainer Pro to, also that might be interesting for us to hear. So Deborah, you have your hand up. Please feel free.
Okay, Morry. Well, first I have to apologize because my internet keeps going on and off. So if you lose me, that's why. It means it just went away again.
Okay.
But I have a question for you. I was going to introduce this to my friend, but she was very badly beaten years ago, and she has brain trauma. And I read, in the instructions and stuff that if they have brain trauma or something, they shouldn't listen. So can you tell me why that is?
So primarily that's a legal issue. What I would suggest is if you wanted to introduce it to her, go ahead and do so, but tell her or ask her to talk to her neurologist first.
Okay.
And ask her if meditative music that's designed to influence brainwave patterns might be something that she should try, or at least something innocuous, something that isn't going to hurt her.
Mm-hmm.
We do want to be careful with people who have issues.
Okay. Thank you, Del.
Yeah, my pleasure. Was there anything else, or was that it for now?
Nope, that's it for now. But if you don't see me on there, that means my internet went away again.
That's okay. I've been noticing you hopping off and on all the time. So
yeah, it's getting kind of annoying, Morry, honey.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. You're at least doing the right thing by keeping your picture off. It frees up more bandwidth for your audio. So smart move. Okay, so we will get back to MindTrainer Pro Self-Mastery. And again, if any of the statements or things I talk about now inspire questions or comments, feel free to raise your electronic hand. If I'm not noticing, if you don't know how to do that, then just unmute and say, hey, Morry, I got to say something, because I won't be able to see you. Deborah is exercising her hand. Go for it, Deborah.
I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button, Morry.
Not a problem.
With this phone today.
Absolutely no problem at all. Thank you very much. Okay, so here's the next, I guess, three things that I'm going to discuss, or I think today the first three things that I'm going to discuss are really universal. They're having to do with all of the systems, not just MindTrainer Pro. So there's something we call multiliminal audio or triliminal audio in some of the recordings. This is a system that I designed a while ago to stop what I call the negative reflexive thought process. So I'll give you a little bit of an outline as to what a triliminal or a multiliminal is. We've all done guided hypnosis, right? Either a recording or something on YouTube or even a hypnotist. We've probably done meditation before as well, whether that's guided meditation or meditation just listening to music. Believe it or not, walking through a forest and just taking in all the green and the sounds, that's a form of meditation. Prayer, for those of you who are religious and go to church or synagogue or mosque or whatever, that is a form of meditation as well. So what a triliminal does is it, like I said, it stops the negative reflexive thought process. And an example of that is getting a phone call at midnight. So put a 1 in the chat if you get a call at midnight and the first thought that enters your head is, oh no, what's wrong? Who's sick? Who's hurt? Or even worse. I will wait till I see that you're all awake. So that's good. There you are. Okay, so we've got enough people with 1s. That doesn't serve us. It's much better if we can be calm, clear, and concise, and if we can recover quicker. And when we panic, we don't recover fast at all. It kind of removes all the benefits of our mind, of our brain, of our logic. So what you hear, and you're going to hear everything at the same time, for those of you who haven't heard it yet, is you're going to hear the shh sound. And for those of you who have heard it, you'll now know what everything is for and why it's there. So you're going to hear the shh sound, which I call a relative of pink noise. And it's that because it's 600 plus frequencies overlaid on top of each other one at a time. And it ends up sounding like pink noise or brown noise or white noise. And what it does is it helps to block out external noises. Like if your house is settling or if someone's watching TV in the next room or something to that effect. Not only is it doing that, but there's certain frequencies that I've included as well, which I believe are designed to hyperactivate different regions of your brain. That makes them more open to the entrainment and the programming. So the entrainment tone you're going to hear also along with the along with the shh is going to sound like ba 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 ba, that kind of thing. That particular entrainment tone is designed to elicit a response in the brain called LTP. LTP stands for long-term potentiation. How many people here, you can just wave your hand, you don't have to type anything in the chat, but how many people here have been at a party or a dinner or somewhere, even out in public, where you met someone, they were introduced to you, and 2 seconds later, you couldn't remember their name? Yeah, that's a pretty common thing, right? It's happened to me as well. That happens because LTP isn't active in your brain. It's a state, it's not a chemical. It's an actual state. So when that state is there, a neural pathway, a memory pathway is formed. When that state is not present, it goes in one ear and out the other. Much like everything my parents claim they told me, went in one of my ears and out the other of my ears. So that's what that's all about. It elicits a response in the brain that makes that happen. Then you also hear me speaking to you in the left ear with information for the right hemisphere of your brain, information in the right ear for the left hemisphere of the brain. That's because information transfers on opposite hemispheres from the area where it came in. It even works that way with your eyes. So the left side of your eye sends information to the right hemisphere, the right side of your eye sends information to the left hemisphere. So you have the shh, you have the ba 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 ba. You have me talking here to your right hemisphere. You have me talking here to your left hemisphere. And then I'm speaking again to both hemispheres. And often there's a lot of overlap. Sometimes it's in series, like, hi, how are you? Other times it's blah, 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 blah. Your brain can handle millions of processes every second, believe it or not. But what we're doing is we're using a scientific method to help reprogram or retrain your brain into a better reflexive action. So when the phone rings tomorrow, instead of you freaking out, you go, well, it's probably a wrong number. Or maybe it's someone trying to sell me, duct cleaning. Here in Canada, that's all we get are phone calls about duct cleaning. So you guys may not get that in the United States, but that you have your equivalent, I'm sure, of people who just spam you like crazy with all these phone calls for useless endeavors that you have no desire to use. That's what a triliminal is. That's what a multiliminal is. So that is unique to MindTrainer Pro. You're not going to find that anywhere else. The coding, you'll notice, if you listen at the beginning, you don't hear "you are" ever, because that's not, sorry, you don't hear "I am" ever. I apologize. "I am" sabotages you. I have a full head of hair. No, I don't. I know I don't. And if I repeat over and over that I have a full head of hair, that's just going to aggravate me. It's not going to make me better. That's what I mean when I say that it's sabotaging. If you hear someone say "you are," even if you don't believe it, it makes you wonder. It sets off a signal in your brain to say, what does this person see in me that I'm not seeing? You are wealthy. Well, if you're not wealthy, your brain goes, what are they seeing in me that makes them think I'm wealthy? Maybe it's not just money wealth. Maybe it's personality. Maybe it's friendship. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's a bunch of different things. So it just sets the brain off on a mission to find out why that person, me in this case, told you something about you that you may not believe in. And that starts everything going forward. And it sets off a whole chain reaction of positive thoughts. So what a triliminal does, multiliminal, is it helps you to help yourself by changing your reflexive thought patterns. Okay. Let's see what is next on the list here. I have to find my pen. I don't want to repeat myself. So how many of you, with a 2 in the chat this time, have tried the VI recordings? That would be the visual image entrainment. Those are the 3-minute recordings. Oh, thank you, Heidi. I appreciate the comment. Okay, so it looks like at least some of you have tried them. If you haven't used the VI recordings yet, can you put a 1 in the chat? Just so I can see if there's anybody out there who hasn't tried them yet. Okay, we do have some people who haven't tried the VI recordings. That's interesting. So for those of you who don't know, the visual image entrainment recordings are actually 3-minute videos. I had a bunch of clients say, hey, Morry, I love listening to the half-hour recordings and even some of the longer ones, but there are times where I could really use a pick-me-up, but I don't have that time. I don't have half an hour. I'm about to go into a big meeting, a board meeting or a sales meeting or some kind of meeting or a big Zoom meeting, something that could make or break your career. And you only have a few minutes. You don't have, and I'll tell you what, in a waiting room, the last time I looked, they don't have cots there. So you can't lie down in a waiting room. Can you imagine if you had an important meeting and they came out to get you and they had to nudge your shoulder because you were sleeping on the couch? That would be absolutely hilarious. But chances are you'd get sent home. They wouldn't actually let you have your meeting. So the idea behind the VI is that for people who are using regularly the standard brainwave entrainment recordings, the audio-only recordings, that the pulsing in the VIs brings back that effect, kind of like a muscle memory thing. So when we climb stairs, most of the time we climb stairs, we're not actually looking at the stairs. That's because we have a muscle memory. We kind of know where the next stair is, and we just go by memory. The trick here is with a VI is we combine audio with visual stimulation. So there's specific types of images that are blinking at a particular rate. The audio is matching that rate. So you watch, you listen, you hear bump, 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 bump. Every time there's a ba, there's a new image. The images are flattened. So if there's any depth to them, they're flattened. And then they're coded with a color. I call it a color gamut. I did some research on colors and on shades of colors. And the colors that are present in the VIs, you'll notice most of them are different. That's because we're eliciting a different neural response by looking at that color. So we have the flattened image. The image itself is topical for what we're trying to get to. The color inspires neurological activity. The visual aspect of watching the images, the specific images and what they're showing, plus the rate at which they're flashing, Combine that with the entrainment from the sound and the visual flickering of the images, gives you an incredible effect in only 3 minutes. That's all it takes is 3 minutes. If you can't put on headphones, you can just look at it. It won't be as effective, but they'll still be relatively effective. And in my experimentation with it, it turns out, see, that was designed as a one-of, kind of like an instant hit. But it turns out if we watch 5 of them a day, now they could be different ones, they can be the same, it doesn't matter. Just not in a row. If you watch 3 of them in a row, that's considered one session. If you watch one, that's considered one session. So if you split them up during the day and you watch 5, that's enough to start giving people benefits that go beyond the immediate time frame. That's something very important when you're using it yourself and when you're offering it to the use for other people to use it, that they understand that this thing is pliable. This system is neuroplastic. Neuroplasticity is the idea that the brain can change. Well, with these types of recordings added in with everything else, boy, do we have multiple ways to help your brain change and become more resilient. So, Steve, you've been very patient. Your hand is up.
Yeah, I have the occasional migraine. Flashing lights and flashing and things like that, or sudden brightness, will sometimes trigger that.
Sure.
Which is why basically I haven't tried the Vise. I did one time, but I've not tried. Is that a concern?
Well, it is if your screen's too bright, but what I suggest you do is take your phone and lower the brightness like a lot. That like so barely visible, bring it up, and then just raise it a little bit so it's still comfortable. That's the trick. It's got to be comfortable. And if you lower the brightness on your device, your TV, your phone, your tablet, your computer, and the source is either going to be a computer, a tablet, or a phone. So you can always lower the brightness before you actually run a session.
Okay, so effectively, brightness and volume are the same things for different purposes.
Right. But even getting you see, if you're very sensitive to the brightness, then even a much lower, like a dimmer display is still going to give you a very good effect because you're more sensitive. The other thing is for migraines, I've had people tell me that if they lie down and they close their eyes, obviously closing their eyes, and they just listen to one of the recordings. Like as an example, let me find my phone here and let me bring up the app, and we are talking about MindTrainer Pro Self-Mastery. So we are actually going to look at the self-mastery system. There is a recording there called Wellness Synergy. I believe, okay, that's actually that is not the one that I'm talking about. I apologize. We are talking about quantum processing. Okay. And if you use that recording at a low volume, one of the things, and you can look this up on Google Scholar or through AI, although I still prefer Google Scholar when I'm looking at research, ultimately, is look up brainwave entrainment and cerebral blood flow. So one of my theories about headaches and migraines are that the veins and arteries in the skull get really, really, well, not in the skull, but in the head, get really, really thin. And that builds up pressure. And my theory, this is my theory, my logic circuits, I'm not saying this is medical advice or anything at all, but my view is that if we can increase cerebral blood flow, then that is naturally deconstricting these blood vessels, which would allow more blood flow easily, which should help the headache and migraine. Keep in mind that this is my personal opinion, no medical claim, just me thinking I'm being logical. But it's something worth trying anyway. And even without headphones, maybe just while you're doing what you're doing, put it on at a very quiet volume in the background over a speaker. And I'd love to hear. I mean, look, I hope you never have another migraine again, so you can't report back to me. But if you do and you try it, I'd love to get some feedback on that to see if it helped. Thank you very much. Anything else, Steve? Great. See, this is why it's important that I go over the system so it inspires questions. Because sometimes you may not have thought of something, and then all of a sudden something I say go, oh, you know what? I was wondering about that. So I'll look for any electronic hands. Any hands? 3, 2, 1. Okay, I don't see any hands right now. So let's move to the next action here, which is a global user appeal. So there are lots of systems out there that are excellent, as you all know. I'm sure some of you use other systems too that are very helpful and help you. One of the things about this is that when I look at my client list, I see people who are creative entrepreneurs, personal development seekers, people who are blue collar, white collar. It's kind of attractive to everybody because it's so easy. One of the problems I always had was, is this working? Is this helping me? Am I doing this right? Am I thinking the right thing? Am I sitting the right way? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? I get myself into such a rotation of all these questions that I'm probably losing results I could have had from these other systems, but I'm not getting the results because I'm too busy judging myself. I'm too busy asking questions. You know, very little has an immediate effect. There are some things that people claim have immediate effects, and there are things that do have immediate effects. You know, if you burn yourself, the pain is immediate. So, that's just something with an immediate effect. But the real trick here is most things that are worthwhile take time. For instance, many of you are parents. Can you imagine if you made love and the next day gave birth? What that would be like? That would be horrible. It would be incredible stress on the body and on the mind and everything. So having a child takes its time. Traveling, you're going on a vacation. Let's say you're going to Mexico, or let's say you're going to Peru or Somalia or wherever you're going. It takes time. You drive or get a ride to the airport or the train station, you hop on the train or the airplane, you move. Everything takes time. So it's appealing when you don't have to think about what you're doing. And you're not worried about the timing. You're just knowing that, hey, there's science behind this. I know that I've listened to music before and I've tapped my toes without realizing it, that I've bopped my head without realizing it. I know I've entrained before, even before I even heard of brainwave entrainment, because I know that. And that's a great example for those of you who are offering this to someone else. A lot of people will think brainwave entrainment is BS, but you can explain to them, well, you know what? You've actually already been entrained multiple times in your life. Every time you drive home and you don't remember the drive, that's because of the little white lines flickering past you while you're driving. Every time you listen to a song you like and you bop your head and tap your toes, that is entrainment. What we're doing is we are focusing that entrainment on the brain. And that's why we get those incredible results. And that's why you notice the differences. Any questions or comments? Okay. I do want to ask one more time because I know there's been some people arriving since the last time I asked. Is there anybody here, and answer with a 0 in the chat, please, if you're new and or interested in becoming an affiliate but have not become an affiliate yet? Okay, it's just that I want to leave some time to talk about that if there are any people here like that. There are not, so we can move on. So I already spoke about the next point, effortless and structured workflow. There's not a lot out there that tells you I can help you to help yourself, first of all. Most of the time it's experts, and they're brilliant people, in my opinion, for the most part, who say, I have the cure for you. I have the routine for you. I have the system for you. I know what's good for you. I don't know what's good for you. I believe you know what's good for you, even if you're not consciously aware of knowing that. So these brainwave entrainment systems are designed to help you bring out your inner self, your inner power. That's what it's all about. It's not about my wisdom or my knowledge. It's about using what I have learned to help you to optimize your mind, your brain, so you can help yourself. Ultimately, you know what's best for you. Many of us have done things because we've been sold on what other people told us that they know better, and then it doesn't turn out. And sometimes we think, well, maybe I didn't try hard enough, or maybe I didn't do it right, or maybe it was designed by someone who isn't you. This work isn't designed by you either, but it is designed to optimize that part of you that knows what is you and knows what you need. That's why some people will listen to recordings and they'll get energetic and they'll start doing stuff. And that's why other people will sleep for 3 hours afterwards, because they didn't realize they needed the rest. Everybody gets what everybody needs, along with the laser focus. So lean mind method as an example, I'm just going to go there quickly for a second because it is targeted, laser targeted, and self-mastery is kind of a collect-all. So with lean mind method, it's about retraining how you feel and how you think about food and eating. It is not a diet system. It is not a lose weight system. All it is doing is helping you to learn better things about eating habits and food and how you think about these things. And a lot of people seem to be losing weight using it because, in my view, that is the trick, or that is the difference between someone who's going to lose weight and keep it off and someone who's going to lose weight and put it back on again. This is not a diet. Never talk about it as a diet. Anyway, we're not talking about lean mind method today, but I did want to bring that point up because it really hits the point home. So the other thing is, there's a diversity of audio sessions and visual sessions as well. Many of you may have noticed that there's a whole lot of programs. How many people have all access? Put a 4 in the chat if you have all access, please. Okay, so a lot of people have all access, which means it's likely that at some point you looked at your phone and rolled your eyes into the back of your head and said, what am I supposed to do? There's so many recordings. How am I supposed to listen to all of this? So that's the trick. There's 2 points here. You have diverse audio sessions. So that means that if you read the instructions, we're back to the beginning, which is funny because we're nearing the end and we're going back to the beginning. So it's just like we were talking about back at the beginning. If you read the instructions, there is a protocol for universal listening. And you can quite literally listen to one recording from the Menno Mind today, from self-mastery tomorrow, from the next one the next day, the next one the next day, the next one the next day, and literally rotate your way through all the different recordings. It might take you 3 months to get through all the recordings, but it doesn't matter because with the diversity, you accomplish a number of things. As I mentioned before, you don't get used to these recordings physiologically anyway, but from a mental standpoint, you're not going to, because you're listening to all these different recordings with all these different spoken word aspects and different frequencies and all that. So that's going to happen. But also, you're getting the exercise, if you will, by using all these different recordings. In other words, instead of me, imagine this is a 5-pound weight. Instead of me doing this with my left arm, and that's all I'm doing, now I'm doing my arm and my chest and my waist and my back and my glutes and my hamstrings and my, everything is being done. That's how you can look at it. It's like a complete system for doing everything. And that way you could have unlimited recordings, literally unlimited systems, and not worry about it because you don't have to listen to 15 recordings in a day. If you have time to listen to one, you listen to one and then move on to the next one next day, next one the next day. If you have a favorite one, try to work in 2 so you can listen to your favorite every day and then rotate through the others. After a couple of months of listening, you're going to start having a real gut feeling, a real instinct feeling as to which recordings to listen to when. That's when you kind of break away from my suggested listening protocols. And the only thing you really pay attention to at that point is it's better to listen at least once every day. If you can listen 5 days a week, that's fantastic. But that would be the idea, at least once every day, and just rotate through. You'll never, ever get bored. It doesn't matter the order either. Just trust your instinct. Whatever, oh, this one looks decent, I'm going to try this one. Oh, I haven't tried that one before. A good idea is to have a notepad handy or a ledger or a journal. And when you listen to a recording a couple of times, just write down a couple of words. Oh, I was tingly when I was listening to this. You know, if you notice that you're a lot more patient a few hours later, go back to your journal and write in, I seem to be more patient today. These kinds of things. It will help you in the long run to understand the different recordings and what they do for you and how they do it for you. So that's a really good thing as well. I'm looking at the time. We still have 10 minutes. Any questions? Comments? Okay. I will take that to mean that I'm doing a half decent job. Thank you. Let's go. Okay. So we have categories of the VI recordings. And the reason for that is we have different needs at different times of our lives, of our day, depending on how we feel. I don't know how many of you tried the happy VI, the one with everyone smiling all the time. You just wiggle your fingers or something. You don't have to put anything in the chat. But that is a really good example because I haven't shown that to anybody that by the end, they haven't had a smile on their face. And they don't even realize they have a smile on their face. Some of the other VIs are a little more subtle, but happiness is something that we all feel, and we all tend to feel pretty strongly. So experiment, test different recordings out, test different types of recordings out too. And remember, we have subliminal recordings that go for an hour that you can play in the background. There is no brainwave entrainment in the subliminal recordings. So you can listen to those anytime. You can put them to play overnight, on repeat if you want, nonstop over an external speaker. Subliminals, of course, are listened to over an external speaker, not a phone speaker or a tablet speaker because they're just too small, or built-in computer speaker. But if you have a remote speaker, something like this, a little portable Bluetooth or something works fine. Then you can have the subliminals playing. And the subliminals play up to 2 million presentations per hour. And again, your brain handles a lot more than that, so don't even worry about it. There's 10 different layers of subliminals, and it's just amazing. So let me look through. You know what? I haven't looked through the chat, so let me just see if there's anybody here who has anything that they'd like to say. Let me see here. Enjoying the education. Thank you, Heidi. Aha. Yeah, Heidi, you know what? You're like me. You kind of get used to something and you're enjoying it, and then you forget you have other things too. So Heidi, feel free.
I have a question that's, so I know the best way to represent what you did in MindTrainer Pro. So can you share what the terminology is? Systems inside MindTrainer Pro, there are systems. Inside systems, there are sessions. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're all in the same language here. And I wanted to wait till the end till you were kind of done with what you were sharing. So there's no subsystems. You don't have that language, right? They're sessions.
You know what? However you're comfortable describing the layout, like especially if you're showing someone at the same time, you can really call it anything you want. You can just call them recordings. You can call it programs instead of systems. That's just the words I use, but you know, you can use anything you want, really. as long as they're descriptive. Because remember, part of my problem is that I know this stuff inside out. Because I know it inside out, when I explain something, sometimes I don't give enough information, or other times I give way too much information that no one cares about. It's too sciencey. They don't care about that. You know, a lot of people drive a car, they don't care how the engine works, they just want it to work. So speak the language of the person you're talking to.
Thank you. That's great info.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate your asking that question. Susie said, I do love the happiness one. Have to go. These Zooms are always helpful. Thank you. Well, if you're still here, Susie, thank you very much. If you're not, I'll say it loudly, so hopefully you can hear. There we go. All right, so let's see. We have 5 minutes left. Do you guys want to hear one more point, or do you want to just go home early? One more point? Give me a thumbs up if you want one more point. Okay, thank you very much. Those of you who would like to go home early, you're welcome to as well. So the last one is going to be the quick brain tune-ups. So that's actually a nice one to end on for today, as a matter of fact. So what we're talking about is, you'll notice in a lot of them, we have something called surge recordings. They're 4 minutes and 7 minutes. So the idea behind the surge recordings are to bring, again, we're talking muscle memory, are to bring back the full effects of the longer recordings when we don't have enough time. Now, keep in mind that regular listening to the longer recordings is going to make this more effective and more efficient. At least 4 or 5 times a week, I would say, would be the best optimal way to listen in order for the surges to do what they need to do. Just so you know, it ordinarily takes an untrained brain about 6 minutes to entrain to a desired frequency, assuming it's properly engineered and properly presented, like we do it here with MindTrainer Pro. That being said, when we get some experience under our belt and when we get regular listening under our belt, it's a different situation. So in as little as 3 minutes, 4 minutes, I think the surges are 4 minutes. Let's see, what are they? Yeah, they're 4 minute and 7 minute. So if you have a little extra time, pop on the 7 minute surge. If you have a little less time, pop on the 4 minute surge. And that helps to get you back into that full state that you were in before. As a matter of fact, and I don't know if any of you notice this or have been listening long enough that you do notice, but my fingers are tingling right now. So are my toes. That's one of the first signs of going into a state from my entrainment recordings. When I lie down and I put on a recording, first thing that happens is my fingertips start tingling and my toes start tingling. Just talking about this stuff makes my hands and toes tingle. I'm literally going off into a state. Here's a last trick I'll let you know before I end this call. When you're listening for a month or two regularly, and you're in a situation where you feel yourself losing it a bit, you're losing your composure, just either, if you're in a situation where you can do this without people looking at you funny, go like this. If there's people around and you don't want to be embarrassed, think the tones in your head. Just in your head. I'm going to do them out loud again, but imagine in your head you're saying to yourself, you will probably start noticing that you start experiencing a lot of the effects again. So once you start getting more muscle memory about this, just imagining the tones, just talking about it may be enough to get you into that state you need to be in for optimal circumstances in that state, in that time of need, because maybe you need patience. I lost my patience today. You lost your patience today. Everyone loses their patience here and there, but it's not a problem to lose it. The problem is to stay there because it doesn't serve you. Patience is kind of like a volcano erupting, right? So if you lose it, it blows the top, and then you should calm down because the pressure's done. You've gotten the pressure out. That's the trick. So when we lose our patience, a little da-da-da-da-da-da-da might be all it takes to get you back on track. If you have a longer period of time, if you have 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5, 6, 7 minutes, you have the surge recordings there to help you out. So we have about 30 seconds left. I want to thank everybody who joined me today on Mondays with Morry. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Be well, everyone. I can never do that. Is that right? Kind of looks like a heart. There you go. All right. Thank you, everybody. Be well.